Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Hey.
Bang! Hey, everybody. We're here with Andrew Giuliani, and he's gonna maybe tell us what he's been doing and what he's gonna be doing, what his plans are for the future. He was I'm not sure if people know this, but people that maybe have not seen this or heard of him before is he did run for governor in 2022, and he also worked for the Trump administration. But he's here to give a little bit of encouragement to everybody in upstate New York, Western New York, and probably actually everywhere in New York.
Everywhere.
So everybody needs to, any organizations that come on, please just throw in the comments, throw your organization. This way we can put it up on the board here, and so he recognizes who you are and everything else. So Andrew, go ahead. What have you been up to? And give us the rundown. This is the Andrew Giuliani show, by the way.
This is the Day of New York show with John and Charles. I'm happy to be a contributor here today. So thank you guys for having me. And as always, it's great to see you guys. I know it's been a little snowy up there in Western New York from everything I've seen, watching the Buffalo Bills game get delayed a day. I've got to admit, you might not like this. I am a Giant fan, but I'll be pulling.
Oh boy.
I'll be pulling. My Giants are playing golf right now, though, so I'll be pulling for your Bills.
Perfect.
And hoping they can do New York proud. But it's always great to see you guys, John, Charles. Obviously, thank you guys for everything that you guys did for me while I was a candidate and running for governor. Now my focus really is on my former boss. It's on President Trump and doing what I can over the next less than 10 months to make sure that he is the 47th president of the United States. And look, I know every single election we go through this, and you hear people that are in politics, involved in politics, say this is the most important election of your lifetime. I would actually say for this election in particular, this might be one of the most important elections in the history of Western civilization.
Absolutely.
When you think about what's at stake, when you think about what this Biden administration has done from the border, which now New York, who would have thought it? New York is a border state. And I don't mean a northern border state, because obviously we know that. I know sometimes you guys think us downstaters forget that we are a border state. But I think even New York City people are like, wait a second. No, I didn't realize we're a border state, because we're getting literally 150,000 illegal immigrants in our city right now. And it's a complete disaster. And it's all thanks to the Biden administration. I would argue that you have impeachable offenses right now from this Biden administration just because he refuses to honor his oath of the Constitution, which is to protect and defend the United States of America. It's obvious we've been having a 3-year invasion now under the Biden administration. And so when you see that, when you see what they've done to his political opponent, Donald Trump, this lawfare where they have 91 different cases against him, 4 different cases with 91 different claims against him, to going after his anybody who's associated with him. Look, I look at what they're trying to do to my father, and I can't tell you as a son how proud I am of him. Even though they try to take him down to his knees, try to strip him of every last penny that he has, he continues to speak the truth. You can go and see everything that he says out there, and he is talking every single day, saying things that the administration does not want him to say. And it feels like we're living in an Orwellian dream. This dream needs to end, or nightmare, I should say. This nightmare needs to end on November 5th. I was actually, just as I was getting ready for this, I was thinking, when is January 20th? Because I can't wait to start thinking that we're a year and less than a year away from the changes in our country, because it's absolutely time for a change. So that's really what my focus will be on in the next year. I've been able to host a radio show here on WABC Radio in New York, which is 770. I know at least up in Western New York, you could hear it at night. I don't think you hear it during the day, but if you go on 770, you can hear it at night, and go on to WABCradio.com. You can hear it then. So I've got a radio show, podcast between that and, trying to work with my father on his legal defense fund which is the Rudy Giuliani Legal Defense Fund. Anybody who's interested in learning more about that, you go to defendrudy.com, defendrudy.com. Every single dime of that goes to basically him being able to file appeals and make sure that he can defend himself against this corrupt Biden Justice Department. So between the three of those things and getting to spend a little bit of time with my daughter, which has been nice, the last 6 years, I should say, between 2017 or 2016 because of the campaign through 2022, it was a very hectic schedule, as you can imagine, between time in the White House and then campaigning for governor. So I've got a little 2-year-old baby girl, and even though I've got kind of these three things going on, it's still not as hectic as working in the White House, you can imagine. So it's been awesome to see her grow and how she's now, at times starting to reason, at other times being unreasonable. But even when she's being unreasonable and crying, she still makes a lot more sense than these leftist communists that are running. So
Hey,
I knew that was coming.
Yeah, tell me about it.
I got a few things I want to throw out there real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
In case you didn't realize this or not, but you had Sherry Paul Stuhler, the little firecracker, the little short blonde. She's on.
Hi, Sherry. How you doing?
You have Erica Marie, the girl that at the Italian club with the all red, white, and blue stuff on. She's on. Jennifer Williams is on from Moms for Liberty. I don't know if you can see the comment.
I think I'll see you tomorrow, Jennifer. I think if I remember correctly, we'll see you tomorrow here. You guys are invading New York. You guys are coming into the snake pit here in New York City and Manhattan. I think 81% of Manhattan voted for Joe Biden and Kathy Hochul. So it's you guys are coming into the snake pit right now, but it's nice. It's nice to have some like-minded people come in to my home county over here, and we'll actually tell them straight.
Can you see the comments or no?
I think I saw a few of them passing by. I'm having trouble seeing them, so I apologize if I'm not seeing what's being said. Hopefully it's good. If there's bad stuff, then I'm happy I'm not seeing it. So it could be either or.
Right. We got Freedom Fox on.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
By the way, one sec. Hold on. I've got to put on my hat here because hopefully this hat, we can just put this in a museum somewhere after this. But if you ask what I'm doing for the next year, I'm just surviving till 25. That's what I'm
Hey, I have another question for you, because
that's great.
Even though I wasn't going to say too much, but hey, what do you have any plans for the next president of the United States? Do you have any plans to be involved with that at all, or not?
Well, I've been lucky that I've had the opportunity to talk to him on many occasions about this, and I spent a lot of time with him this summer. Was just with him, I guess it was about 6 weeks, so it's been a little over a month. But and I think I'm going down to see him again in a couple of weeks here. So look, I want to help in whatever way I can. I want to make sure that first off, we got to get him elected, right? And that involves a plan in terms of what we're going to do in so many of these states where we had these major issues last time, whether it's Pennsylvania. I know right across the border in Western New York, you've got Pennsylvania. We could see what happened in Pennsylvania to Wisconsin and Michigan, Arizona, Georgia. I mean, look, we saw what happened. We caught it on video. You could see exactly what the left did in terms of cheating Trump out of this thing in 2020. So, a lot of my focus is right now, what can we do to make sure that we could trust this thing as much as we possibly can? And one of my biggest concerns, to be honest, is if you look specifically at Arizona and Pennsylvania, right? Mm-hmm. The two people that ran the election there in 2020, the secretaries of states, they're now the governors in those states. So they've institutionalized a lot of these things that they claimed was because of COVID, whether it be mail-in balloting or the drop boxes and stuff like that. So to me, it's trying to figure out the problem when you have the state government against you how can you actually go in there and secure these elections in a way that we really need to in order to trust this thing and to trust that it's correct. So that's the problem I think that I'm kind of most focused on solving right now at this point. And right now in some of these states, we don't have the right answer, and that's why it's going to take some time to make sure we get the right answer in these states, because when you have a Secretary of State that is the governor and they start institutionalize these, making some of these things law, where you have, as President Trump likes to say, election month or election season, along with these mail-in ballots that are going out there, and you got more mail-in ballots in the state than you do illegal migrants in the country. Even it becomes a real problem.
It's crazy. Oh my God.
So we have Nancy that popped on. She was with the Constitutional Coalition of New York State. Remember that in
good
Buffalo?
To see you guys.
Remember Nancy from Buffalo? You guys went out there, and your dad was out there.
Of
Your dad
course.
went out there. And we got Will Fiacco on. He's running for the 52nd. I think, is it the 52nd district, John?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, Will Fiacco's on. And he's asking, who are we going to get to run for New York governor in 2026?
Well, I tell you what, I think a lot of that's just going to depend on what happens in 2024.
This year, yeah.
So, I don't, I haven't had any conversations with anybody about 2026 at this point. I think the focus right now is on 2024.
Get that out of the way. Yeah. Get that one first and then move on. Yeah.
Absolutely. I just, it's too important what we're going to be going through over the next 10 months. And, that's really my focus before we kind of talk about 2026 on here.
Yeah.
Right.
Some people don't realize how much effort and drain it is on you when you're running a campaign and going here, going there. You know what I mean? I only did it for about a year and I was like just wore out at the end.
Yeah, but John, you were everywhere, man. You
Yeah.
were non-stop. I saw you right there.
I had to be with my man,
He's a great guy too.
He is. I like Mike. I'd do anything for him.
We're going to try to get him on next week.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's absolutely awesome.
But I can say,
I
could say when you ran in 2022, you brought out all the issues.
Mm-hmm.
You were the one that brought out all the issues that more or less forced every other candidate to talk about everything that was concerning to most of the people in New York. You were the man that did that.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Look, I've been around politics my whole life, right? For better or for worse. I mean, it's you can see the people that are disingenuous and the ones who really mean it or focused on it. And look, I've always kind of said, if I'm going to spend my time in this realm and in this arena, then I want to address the issues that directly affect not just my country, my state, my city, my county, my family, and I thought so many of the issues, whether it be, let's take COVID, for example, and the mandates that we were going through that seems to be kind of swept under the rug right now. Nobody's really talking about it. But when you think about these mandates that were imposed on New Yorkers,
unconstitutional,
when we were running, it was so beyond disgusting that they would put New Yorkers' livelihoods on the line and basically say, you're going to get this shot or you're not going to have a way to support your family or yourself. And I knew a lot of people who got the shots because of that.
Yeah.
And, the truth is, I was in many ways blessed that I was running for governor and I was my own boss, if you will, because I didn't have to make that decision. The decision for me was very simple. It was a decision based on science. I basically said, hey, look, can you show me the information and the data that is going to tell me that this is good for my personal health or my family's personal health, especially if you have the antibodies, which I did at the time. I'd had COVID. I got sick for a couple of days. It was, like a cold that I'd have for 48 hours. And thank God I was okay. But nobody could present the data and the evidence on this stuff. And now the more that we're starting to see on this, the more myocarditis that is being thrown out there. I don't know if you guys saw
It's terrible.
ago, but the director of health in Florida started talking about and certainly I'm not an epidemiologist, so I want to be clear about this. I'm not an expert on this. I feel like I've learned a lot over this over the last 4 years, but certainly not an expert. So do your own research. But when you see what the director of health in Florida was talking about with how there is loose DNA in these shots, which he said, first off, that's something that happens in some of these shots. And a lot of times the FDA looks at that and disregards that. They test for it to make sure that it's not going to mess with your DNA. But he said, because the mRNA actually latches on or can latch on to the DNA in these shots, that mRNA is actually like the gateway in to your DNA. And he basically just asked the FDA, this is his claim. He says, look, this is my claim. I've asked the FDA if they have done the safety and efficacy tests to see whether or not this messes with the human genome, with our DNA. And he said the FDA basically responded to him with non-answers. So they didn't give him an answer whether or not, they didn't give him a yes or no, whether or not they've done these safety tests. So, and Gina, with Life and Liberty, you're right. They were unconstitutional mandates. But you had a governor and a director of health here who decided to push these mandates. And when you have a state senate and a state assembly that are feckless, that are kind of these rubber stamps for the governor or the director of health, these mandates get affected as if they are a law, and it is unconstitutional. It's against our state constitution. It's against our U.S. Constitution. You're absolutely right, Gina. That's the threat in New York State right now. And if you look at, I believe it's 213. I had Assemblyman Chris Tague on my podcast about 2 months ago. You guys can go on to my social media at Andrew H. Giuliani, or I think you go on to WABCRadio.com and you could find it. But basically, we ended up talking about this mandate 2-13, New York State 2-13. I think it's 10 New York State 2-13. And basically, what it does is it gives the governor and the director of health the right to unconstitutionally quarantine and detain you against your will in the name of public health. Now, this ended up getting rejected at the lower court level because they said, first off, that it was against your due process rights. And secondly, they never actually ended up going through the legislature on this. So they didn't actually, the legislature, what's actually sets the laws on this. So one, against your due process rights. Secondly, it's against procedural rights, if you will. But it got overturned at the Court of Appeals. I know the Court of Appeals technically here, but the secondary court here. So now you just have the New York State Supreme Court, which sadly we know how political they are, but it got overturned. And what they said was that the members of the Assembly and the State Senate, the Republicans who ended up going and filing this stuff, they said they didn't have standing, which to me was mind-boggling, because if you think about this, of course they had standing. Not only are they New York State citizens, so this directly affects them and their family, but they're actually elected to represent other New York citizens in the lawmaking process. And our state courts said that they didn't have standing. So when I talk about, going back to the beginning, when you talk about how the future of Western civilization really depends on the next 10 months, there's a great example, because you've seen how this judicial system has been completely politicized by, they're not liberals, because this is not liberal ideals. They're leftists and they're communists. That's really what it is.
Yep. I agree. 100%. I agree. You see it on Facebook, you see it on TikTok, you see it everywhere.
Yeah.
Their ideology. You see it no matter where you go.
Yeah.
So what about these illegals? You were saying there's 115,000 a day pouring in?
Well, in New York, there's been over 150,000 that has come on in. Let me make a note of this here before.
50,000.
Jennifer.
I'll pop it back on if you want.
Yeah, pop it back on when I get done.
Oh, no, you can go ahead and answer that.
But we'll go to the illegals first, and then Charles, pop it back
Okay.
on here.
All right.
But yeah, we've had over 165,000. I think it's now over 170,000 illegals that have come just into New York City specifically.
But they're busting them out too, though, right? To areas like where I am, like Utica, Rome, Syracuse, Buffalo, Binghamton, Rochester.
Well, they're trying to bust them out, but even Hochul is realizing, I think, that this is such a political firestorm that she told the mayor, we're not going to deal with it. I think she set something like about $2 billion, $1.9 billion in her state budget over the next 2 years to deal with this, to kind of give to New York City, or maybe about $1 billion was to give to New York City and 900 million. What's a couple billion between friends here in New York City?
Yeah.
New York State, we throw around billions of dollars, our taxpayer dollars, like it's nothing.
Some people do, yeah.
Deal with this crisis, but yes, I think the turning point with that was when you had the sexual assaults and rapes up at U Buffalo. I want to say that was in August, right?
August, September, yeah, somewhere in there. Yep, I remember that. Yep.
I think that's when Hochul basically said to Mayor Adams in New York that hey, this is your firestorm. I'm not dealing with this anymore. And she basically tried to stop the buses from going north, from leaving New York City. Unless you guys have some information, I don't know, which of course I would love to hear if you guys have heard that there's more that's come in to the state outside of New York City.
No, I really haven't seen much except for just videos, and they were never verified videos. So, anywhere you look, there's illegals crossing the border and coming. You can go anywhere on the internet and find it. But whether it's true or not, I mean, who knows what's made up nowadays? It's hard to tell. But that's hard to believe.
Yeah, it's a complete disaster, and it's actually one of I think it's one of the smartest things that that Abbott and look, I'm supporting Trump, obviously, as I have the entire time. I think even in the gubernatorial race and in many of the debates, when they tried to ask, how do you square your support and your working for President Trump with the fact that you're trying to win in a blue state, and I would just say very clearly, look, I'm proud of the work that I did for Trump. I think he's one of the greatest presidents of my lifetime, of the last 100 years, and the country being a much better place if he was in office now. Basically, it's been a complete disaster when you look at the over 8 million illegals that have come into the country. I think it's over about 900,000 have come into the country over the last 3 months. And when you look at where we were 4 years ago and how we were addressing that, it's a complete
big difference. Yeah, terrible.
Complete nightmare. So
right,
okay. So Jennifer, you mentioned the ERA amendment to the New York State Constitution, and I'm going to claim ignorance here. I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about. So I want to take another minute or two. If you could kind of just write a little bit more about what this ERA amendment. I know you mentioned that it's parental rights, and that certainly makes sense considering it. But I hate to claim that I'm not sure exactly what this ERA amendment that they're trying to, that may be on the ballot in 2024. Is that what you're saying? I'm interested in hearing about this because this is something that my wife and I, frankly, we talk about all the time. What's our parental rights here? Not just in education, but with our daughter's health and her choices here in New York State. And frankly, look, it's one of the reasons, and I said this a few times on the campaign trail. I said, look, if we don't win New York State in 2022, New York State might not be a place where you can raise your kids and actually have the autonomy over their health choices that you need. And the COVID vaccine potentially being on the schedule is a perfect example for these kids. They're adding new protected classes to the ERA. One aspect is no one can be discriminated against due to age. So is this particularly with regards to the surgery, to basically gender mutilation? So like the transgender surgeries, I call it gender mutilation because that's what you're really doing. That means parents do not have to be informed or give consent to services or other
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that's kind of what this is, folks. Yeah, look, it is a very, very scary thing as a parent to think, first off, how our school system, certainly in many counties in the state, and life issues, but certainly how many counties in the state, how they start indoctrinating these kids. And look, you go through puberty and you have all different new hormones and your male testosterone going through your system, and you have all different kind of feelings and questions and this and that, and you're starting to notice the opposite sex for the first time in your life, and because of that, you have these different ideas. Your voice is changing, right? This is all stuff that we learned in health class as we were younger here. So when you combine that with then the radical idea of introducing these gender mutilation drugs and then potentially surgeries to these kids without informing parents. And I think this was a member of Congress. I could be wrong about this. I know it wasn't a New Yorker. For some reason, I'm not sure if it was somebody in the California State House or if it was a California represented member of Congress last week, basically say that it was against privacy rights to tell children's parents that they were identifying as transgender. And to me, that was the new spin that the left was putting on this, that they're trying to claim privacy rights on all this. And look, this comes right out of the communist playbook, right? This is completely put the state in front of the parents here in all this. And what I said on the campaign trail, I completely stand by, which is, look, if you choose to, if you're a male, chop your thing off, or if you're a female, add or claim that you're adding, and you're of legal age, then guess what? The government shouldn't be involved in that decision. I shouldn't, if I'm an elected official, I shouldn't tell you that you can't do that to your body. If you want to cut your body off to that, that's your choice, right? I'm not, that's where separation of state and religion ultimately come into play right there. That's your choice. But if you do that to somebody who is underage and start pushing that stuff, then that's child abuse. That's child abuse. It's that simple. It is that simple. And I think over the times of history, I think people will see that they were abusing children by doing this stuff to us. So, Jennifer, I'm going to see you tomorrow. I want to talk to you a little bit more specifically about it, but it's obviously something that is very concerning, and my wife and I talk about that a lot in terms of, what is my daughter going to be taught in school, and how is what are they going to try to hide from us that's going to have long-term effects on her. And specifically when you're talking about this, look, if they start giving, introducing different hormones or testosterones to kids at the ages of 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, you're curbing their opportunity to have children, right? So you basically, at that point, the state at that point is playing God in so many ways and saying, okay, by this decision that you're making at 10 years old, where you obviously you're more than a decade away from having alcohol, you're 6-7 years away from having from being able to drive, you can't serve your country, you can't do anything, you can't do anything. But now we're going to make sure that your parents don't have oversight into these health decisions. It's child abuse. It's that simple. This is child abuse.
And Andrew, I know you said you had like a half hour. Do you have a few more minutes, or?
Yeah, I got about 10 more minutes.
Okay, great. All right. This is Peter Vasquez right here with the Next Step Show. I just popped up there. He's the one I was telling you about that wants to contact you.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to come on, Peter.
All right. So you said I can give him your number and then just to text you first. And then everything else. Okay, perfect. All right, perfect. All right. Anybody else? Let's see what's going on here. Let's look too bad you can't see all the comments, Andrew.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I'm having trouble seeing them over there. So I saw a couple that popped up. I saw Jennifer pop up. I just saw Peter pop up there, but I haven't. Yeah, for some reason, I'll try to mess around with this a little bit. I just see Flo. In Niagara County, a child wanted to be called by a different gender name. The school, by law, could not tell the family. We're living in crazy town, right?
You know what's crazy about it, really?
Living in crazy town here.
If you think about it, you know what's crazy about it is the kids spend actually, I have a daughter in school. They spend more time with the teachers and at school than they do at home when they go to a public school.
Yeah.
As soon as they get home, boom, they're right in their bedrooms on the phone, and that's it. You don't see them till the next morning when it's, time to go to school again. So it's like the teachers have more time with your kids than you do. So it's
Yeah.
very easy to manipulate them or whatever.
Right. So Jennifer seems to be really on top of this stuff here. So
It's
I'm
not
going
allowed.
to get a good briefer from Jennifer tomorrow on this. She just said that it's a mandate. It's not a law, basically. But if you look at our legislature, right, and according to what Jennifer is saying, they're trying to put it on the ballot. So we're basically going to have a vote on it in 2024. So I certainly hope that there's a big spend on voting no, what will end up being no on this ERA amendment. Again, I want to make sure I get a full brief from Jennifer, so I'm not talking out of my you-know-what over here.
Mhm.
But in terms of this, look, with the governor, with the director of health on this stuff, and with the majority, the supermajority of our state Senate and our state assembly either agreeing with the radical idea that children should be able to change their gender identity without letting parents know, or being complicit and looking the other way on it, it effectively ends up becoming the law of the land, right? It's not, but it effectively is in practice, if you will. Not in theory, but in practice. But this would make it actually in theory and in practice. So, Jennifer, we're going to talk about this tomorrow, and I'm going to get smarter, particularly on this, and see what I could do to throw my weight behind making sure as many people know about this ballot initiative as possible.
All right, Andrew. So the whole show is really about encouraging the organizations out there.
Okay.
What message do you have for the people, all the organizations, the people that are out there fighting and everything else, and not just in Western and upstate New York, but all over New York? Do you have a message that you can tell people to encourage them?
Lift people up.
Okay,
What
well,
do you got?
this is a survival net, so this is not as encouraging. So I got to go with my traditional. I go with my traditional. This is the original one too.
There you go.
I think this is from 2015. Even this is before. I think he might have even announced or something like that. But look, we've got less than 10 months here to save this country, and it doesn't mean that things will be perfect. We'll still have many fights in New York, as Jennifer has highlighted right now. The fights locally, they're still going to continue at this point. We're still going to have a radical governor who sadly seems to be stelling our state down a communist path at this point. And you could just look at the health ideals that we're talking about.
Yeah.
But at least from the country's perspective, I think the best thing that you could do is come up with an action plan. And, maybe that's looking at kind of the most competitive states. And I don't want to overlook New York here, because obviously New York is important, but I'm also realistic on this stuff. And I go by the numbers and I crunch the data on this. And I look and I say, look, if New York ends up being competitive, then it means that Trump has won 375 to 400 electoral votes if it's competitive, because it means he's swept 40 plus states, and that's more than enough to get it done. So for me, my time is going to be focused on what can I do in the Pennsylvanias, what can I do in the Michigans, in the Wisconsins, in the Arizonas, and in the Georgias of the world, and whether that's a matter of trying to link in with a group where you can make calls to voters over there, whether it's trying to figure out how to help to fundraise. If you can travel into those states, then great. But obviously not everybody can. We've got jobs, we've got families to raise and all that. So I understand that you can't. But I think it's figuring out an action plan to how he can get to 270 electoral votes and we can save this country. So for me, that's kind of completely where my focus has been. And we all need to figure out what part can we play in that. Like it said, it can be from your home in Western New York. It can be, linking with the right group, making, 10 calls a day to potential purple voters who are not there. I don't know how many people are on one side of the aisle or another, but maybe thinking of sitting home or not and saying, look, this is why it's so important that you go out and you vote in this election. So whatever it is, find an action plan. I know most of the people on this, certainly by knowing John and Charles and Jennifer, you guys are action people. You guys are not talk. You guys are not just talk. As a matter of fact, you guys talk a lot less than your actions actually commit you to, and that's why I love you guys. I think that there are a lot of people in politics that are all bluster, they're all talk, they talk a good game, but they don't back it up. And you guys back it up.
Appreciate that.
But I talk like AOC. But we won't get on that.
There's nothing like you like AOC, Charles.
I was accused of that and I laughed. But anyways,
who accused you of being AOC, Charles?
I'm
kind of a way.
No, I had to throw that out there because I laughed about the whole thing. But I really did. It was it's like when people attack you, it's kind of like it's not even worth your time to even respond back to it. It's like just let it go. Who cares? Sticks and stones. I don't care. But
I always say if you're not getting some incoming, it means you're not shaking enough trees. So
that's right.
Right.
That's right.
So, Andrew, we talked, and we were trying to get your dad to come on with you. Is this something that we could set up for? You said something about maybe later on in the winter or early spring when he's all done with all his craziness that's going on in his life right now.
He's got a lot of craziness going on.
Yeah, he does.
As you guys might know, but he's got a social media show.
I watch it
every day at 8:00.
So
I'll try to re-up this for him and see if he can get on even for a little bit or something like that to give you guys a good kind of insight in what's going on with him and see if we can do that. So
that'd be great.
You could both come out. We'll have 2 stars on.
Yeah.
Right?
That's okay. We'll give the floor to him. He knows what he's talking about.
All right, are we all set then, or is there any final words you want to say?
No, that's good. I appreciate you coming on. It's been a while since we've seen each other, and you're looking good, bud. You're looking good.
Oh, thank you guys. You guys are as well, and thank you guys for everything that you do, and let's make a plan to save this country here over the next 10 months. We have to.
Yes, sir. We have to. I'll be in touch with you.
Amen.
All right. Thanks, Andrew, for coming on. Good seeing you again.
Good seeing you guys. Take care.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Share this video out, everybody. All right. Have a good night.
Boom.
Boom.
Then he's gone. All right.
That was pretty good, huh?
Yeah, that was a good show.